His radio crackled to life. "Elias, are you there?" It was his assistant, Nora. He grabbed it. "I'm here. There's something strange happened." Static. Then her voice again, but distorted. "Get out now!" Then the room went dark. Total darkness. Elias's breath hitched. He waved his flashlight, but the beam barely cut through the void. It was as if the darkness itself had thickened, swallowing the light. The radio crackled again. "Elias, can't see. Wrong." Nora's voice twisted, layered with something else. A whisper beneath her words. He took a cautious step forward, the sound of his footfall eerily muffled. The room felt different, wider, deeper. The walls had disappeared into the abyss. A shape moved at the edge of his vision, shifting unnaturally. Elias whipped his flashlight toward it, but there was nothing. His own shadow, however, had changed. It was no longer a mirror of his movements. It stood still. And then it took a step toward him. Elias stumbled back, heart hammering. That was impossible. Shadows didn't move on their own. A whisper slithered through the dark. "You see us now?" The air turned icy. Something unseen brushed past his arm. His shadow elongated again, its limbs stretching, reaching. Panic surged through him. He turned and bolted toward the exit. The darkness resisted, clinging to him like thick tar. His limbs felt sluggish, his breath shallow. Somewhere behind him, the whispering voices grew louder. "Don't leave us! Don't leave us! Don't leave us!" His fingers grazed the door handle, cold metal against his burning skin. With all his strength, he yanked it open and staggered into the dimly lit corridor. The moment he crossed the threshold, the oppressive darkness released him. The room behind him was normal again. The monitors, the scattered papers, the platform. It all looked untouched. The shadows lay still. But Elias knew better. Something in that room had seen him, and it wasn't going to forget. Elias slammed the door shut and braced against it, his chest rising and falling in rapid breaths. The silence of the corridor was a stark contrast to the unnatural whispers in the lab. His mind reeled. Project Umbralis. It wasn't just an experiment. It had uncovered something that wasn't meant to be seen. He needed to leave. Fumbling for his radio, he pressed the button. "Nora, come in. Can you hear me?" Static. Then, "Elias, not safe. The light. Stay in the light." The transmission cut out. "Stay in the light." Elias flicked his flashlight around, his paranoia sharpening. The facility's overhead lights flickered weakly, casting jagged shadows on the walls. His own shadow stretched unnaturally long beneath him. It was watching, waiting. He needed more information. If this was a containment breach, then there had to be files, reports, something explaining how to stop it. Forcing his fear aside, he pushed forward deeper into the facility. The research archives were a few halls away, past a corridor lined with shattered observation windows. Inside the rooms, rusted chairs sat in front of darkened screens. Strange restraints were bolted to the floors, as if something had been held down. Elias quickened his pace. The door to the archive was unlocked. Inside, rows of metal filing cabinets stood beneath a single flickering light. The room smelled of dust and something else, something rotten. He pulled open the nearest cabinet. Reports, lab notes, personnel files. He rifled through them, eyes scanning for anything useful. Then he found it, a heavily redacted document labeled Umbralis Final Report. Elias read, "The entity is not a shadow in the conventional sense. It is an absence, a space where light does not exist. Subjects exposed report seeing figures in their peripheral vision. Prolonged exposure results in auditory hallucinations, then loss of spatial awareness. The entity is drawn to observers. The more one perceives it, the more it lingers. Containment is failing. Emergency shutdown initiated. All personnel evacuated. Project terminated." His stomach twisted. They hadn't contained it. They had abandoned it, sealed it inside this place, and left it to fester in the dark. A slow creak echoed behind him. Elias turned sharply. The archive's doorway was now swallowed in complete darkness. The hallway beyond, gone. The light above flickered. And then he saw them. Shadowed figures lining the room. Shadowed figures lining the room. Their bodies were wrong, humanoid but fluid, shifting, featureless. Their heads twitched unnaturally as if sensing him. One took a step forward. Elias staggered back, gripping the folder. His flashlight's beam passed through the figure, but its form remained untouched by the light. Then a whisper curled around him, soft as breath. "You see us?" The light flickered again, and the shadows rushed him.